A crime has been committed. Yes, this is a crime within the fantasy genre. This has been going on for over a decade, and it is an absolutely appalling injustice. Yes, today I bring you 2 more books on my top books of 2022, and one of them is a start of a fantasy saga written by a master bard, a complete wordsmith, an absolute genius of the fantasy genre, who has shockingly flown fairly under the radar, and it definitely is an injustice that I hope that in some small way I am able to get more awareness spread about this series, because you are all missing out on an absolute classic of the fantasy genre. And my other book today is a new modern classic, a masterpiece in the works. It is in the vein of John Gwynne and his Faithful and the Fallen series, but I think it's even better. Want to find out what these books are? Stick around and watch the rest to find out. Hi guys, welcome back to Hobbit Hole Books. My name is Matt, also known as Miggins on Twitter, and yes, today the avalanche of hype continues as I talk about my next top 2 books of 2022. Now, just a quick reminder, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. What are your favourite books? All of those actions really help grow the channel, and I love to see more of you guys interact with you all, so thank you very much. Now, with that out of the way, let's skydive right into the next on the list at number 4. Yeah, I do have 4. I have 4.
A great success!
As we reach number 4, we have Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill. This is the second book in the Broken and the Bound series, and guys, I adored this. I know I use superlatives a lot, but this one was, in its totality, it's honestly just a joy to read. And I think that's why a lot of us do it, because it is a joy. It's a lot of fun. It's just a joy. Now, I'm going to be sort of very vague around things because I haven't done a spoiler review for either the first book or anything like that. Now, if you're like me and you read the series the proper way, you would start with the novella The Fall, which, hint hint, you can get for free on Ryan's website, and is actually the thing that hooked me into this. I remember last year at Christmas, I was reading it just before Christmas, and at the time, my ex, I was telling her all about it. I was even reading some of it to her, and I just loved it, and I fell in love with this world. Now, jokes aside, you can read this series in any order you want. Well, you'd have to start with the first book of Blood and Fire or the novella, but there is a sort of friendly rivalry that goes on in the community. Shout out to Ryan's Discord at The Order, great community. Love you all over there. Shout out to Adam and Viv. So, because I haven't sort of covered this on the channel before, I will be doing content on this on the channel. I will be sort of vague and sort of talk more about the wider series and give general stuff, but here we go. So this series, it starts with very classic fantasy. So this obviously is the one I was talking about at the beginning with John Gwynne comparisons. And so we started off with book 1 of Blood and Fire with Caitlin Breyer, who's sort of the central character in this saga, and his family, his sister Ella gets drawn into things, as well as his friends Rist and Dan. Rist Havel, what a character, may I say. Mwah. And things kind of start typical farm boy, classic-esque vibes. But it's Ryan's humour and warmth and his way of approaching character that really shines through. And as this book progresses, and indeed as the series progresses, it sort of diverts. I was going to say diverts, but also diversifies itself much wider than kind of that classic element of the fantasy genre. So it's definitely worth a read. Book 1, it's got so much heart, it's got a found family, it's got dragons. And then book 2, which is the book I am here to talk about, it absolutely blew book 1 out of the water. Yes. It's pretty much, book 1 is a mini chunk. It's about 500 pages. It's an average kind of size fantasy book. And then book 2, it's doubled in length, in epicness, in drama, in emotion, in character. Talk about being a grower, huh? This book is literally double the size of the last one. And then book 3 is going to be even bigger than book 2 by about 200 or 300 pages. So, yeah, definitely a grower. Oh, I'm terrible. Anyway, why did I love book 2? Especially when, at the beginning, I'm not going to lie to you, at the beginning, it's hyped up a lot, or it kind of starts off with a big epic action scene, and yeah, it's kind of cool, but I didn't get into it. And then about 10% in, it suddenly clicked. And there was this sort of sequence that happens, and I won't go into too much spoilers, but from then on, I was just absolutely in love with this world. Ryan really kills the kind of... Imagine that you're seeing Fellowship of the Ring for the first time, and you're going in and you're seeing Moria, and you see the kind of wonder of the architecture and this kind of deep, dark exploration. Ryan hits those vibes better than any fantasy author I've ever read. I talked about John Gwynne earlier. There is the comparison there because both Broken and the Bound series and the Faithful and the Fallen series are kind of modern twists on classic fantasy. I would say Faithful and the Fallen kind of hews more towards the classic fantasy as a whole in the whole series, whereas Ryan's series kind of does, especially in book 2, diversify itself a lot and make itself fully original. It's just crazy. But what I was going to say was that I definitely think this kind of improves on John Gwynne. I really do. I think it's reaching John Gwynne levels of action sequence, but just as a whole, I think I'm really enjoying it even more than I have enjoyed the Faithful and the Fallen series, which I do need to finish this year with the final book. It's bold, it's brash, it's got Belinda. Now, if you read the book, you'll know about Belinda. It's got all the things you could want from a fantasy. It's got elves, dwarves, bards. It's got, dark mages, death, gloom, destruction, but also right at that foundation is humour and heart. And it all comes from Ryan Cahill. And I think there's a very Irish way about it, because Ryan is Irish. Now, he has moved to New Zealand, so the rumour is that he's a hobbit, but I have actually met him. I was very lucky. And he's a giant, a very gentle giant, and a gentleman at that. So Ryan just... Honestly, I feel like I'm just rambling, and I haven't really told you guys much about what it's about. But if you like your classic fantasy vibes with a modern twist that it's this completely original world and creation, and the Archival Knights, they are freaking awesome. The climax of this, the pacing is really well. Considering it's like a 900-page book, 800-page book, the pacing of this, just... Ryan knows when to put the brakes on, when to let the emotion sit, which is something that really, really impressed me. You don't often, or at least I don't often feel that with fantasy authors, that I feel like they're often too quick to press the pedal again. Ryan is brave. He knows when to kind of hold off a little bit. But then when he blasts, he bloody well blasts. And that ending was just fantastic. That climax, one of the best climaxes ever. We're going to move on from that phrase, and yeah, and it leaves it in a really cool position, and I'm really hoping, I'm really desperate, I'm begging and annoying Ryan so that I can get an arc this week, because I'm very excited. And it also helps being part of the Order, Ryan's Discord I mentioned earlier, which has hyped me up even more than when after I'd read the book, and there's such a great community, so I'll link that down below. The books and Ryan's Twitter and everything like that will be linked below. Seriously, check out this series. At least read the full. You can get it for free on his website. Please, please, please read the full. If you like that, you can see where Ryan goes. His writing gets better as he goes on. So I am just Yeah, beyond impressed. And that's why it's worthy of a number 4 position on my top 10 of 2022. Last on today's stop is number 3. Now, let me please remind you that all these books could have easily been number 1 in a different year. They're all fantastic in their own different ways, and it's been really, really hard to rank them. But when I did rank them, I sort of considered the journey it took me on, the skill and the style and the characters, but most importantly, did it stick with me? What one stood out to me most out of a absolutely fantastic year of reading? And hopefully next year is an even better year, which I'll be honest is going to be pretty hard to beat, but we'll see. So, number 3 is that crime that I referenced earlier. It is Curse of the Mistwraith by the one and only Miss Janny Wurts. Now, this series, I have done a full review for this book. It will be up there. I hope that I've done it right this time, because I noticed in the other video I was putting my hand up in the air the wrong way, but who cares? Because this book was just an absolute... what's the word? It's an absolute wonder to read. It is a wonder. And definitely not a one-hit wonder. That's for sure. Now, I know, as I've said in my video I did before about Curse of Mistwraith, that there's a lot of hype surrounding this book. There's a lot of myth surrounding it that it's really difficult to get into. Guys, please just explore it for yourself. Don't listen to the kind of chatter around it. When I first read this, I'll be honest, and by no means any disrespect to Janny, I was completely befuddled by the words. I was very intrigued though. I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand it. And then after about a chapter, it clicked. And of course, I started to look up many things in the dictionary. It's a great way to improve your understanding and use of the English language, because Janny just, I don't know, something up in that old brain there is just full of words that I've never heard of. It's just incredible mastery of language and using it in such precise ways. What Janny does is draw you in, and once you are drawn into her style, it makes sense. I promise you. Janny knows that not everyone is gonna be an amazing genius. She knows that. She's not trying to alienate any readers. So once you get used to the prose, the style, it lulls you in, and you don't even notice that. Well, I'm consistently in awe, shall I say, of the use of prose. It sort of fades into the background. I'm trying to understand this, you know. You're just reading it, and it begins to make sense. And it's amazing how it's like that with her prose, and like that with the structure of the book, where in the beginning it's all kind of thrown at you quite a lot like Malazan, and a lot happens. We very quickly kind of enter off into a different world, and we're thrown into this in the middle of it all, and kind of learning as we go along the way. But then about halfway through the book, things start to click, and the ending really, really pays off. And all these things that you had in your mind, that's a little bit awful. Why is that? All these questions. It makes sense. Now, it doesn't mean every question is going to be answered, but not by any means. And any question that's going to be answered is going to lead to more questions, because this is just a book on the most insanely broad scope. I mean, book 2, I'm still learning like so much more compared to book 1. I've already had one of those wow moments, like looking back and realizing, well, why was this included in book 1? This makes sense. And I'm 25% into book 2 now, The Ships of Meria, and there's a lot of room for more humour in that one at the beginning, a bit more character work and spending time with that. And I've just hit the point where it starts to kind of kick off, and it's great. But specifically book 1, why is it on my list? And I'll be honest, it's mostly because the ending. That ending just wowed me. I think it was one of the most satisfying endings I've ever had. Janny, she knows her military kind of formations and things, so she's really good at sort of setting things out and moving the pieces forward and strategizing. So you get this really exciting ending action sequence, but the way that she does it makes you reflect on character. So it's not just a gritty, violent action sequence. It makes you reflect on the characters and learn more, and the aspects of those characters, their characteristics to their personality, are kind of core to the things that go on in that ending. And I know that I'm talking riddles. It's just the kind of book that you have to read. It's got magic wizards, it's got witches in it, it's got magical creatures that you wouldn't believe in a fantasy book, and you'd probably laugh if you heard it, but it makes sense and it's really cool. But I won't spoil what it is. There's kind of dragon-esque creatures in this. And Janny's really, really good at foreboding, which is something I love. I love a sense of, ooh, there's this ominous kind of rising thing in the background, and these characters that are really kind of portrayed as strong and powerful, and they are like the figureheads, but even they're scared of this thing that's coming, and I still don't understand really kind of the whole thing. This book is a setup for the series, and so there is a lot of introduction, and even in book 2, as we carry on this, I'm still learning so much. I still have no idea where this series is headed, but honestly, I just implore you to read it. Just her use of prose again is just lyrical. There's a musical tone to it. It's all this wonderful crafting within this world, and this world is kind of run on energy lines and also musicality and vibrations and resonancy, and it's a very physics system. But even as somebody who doesn't understand magic systems very well and that, it really was really cool. And Janny always explains everything that you need to know. So she's not going to leave you behind. So, wow, I mean, I'm not kind of being jumpy and energetic and phonetic like I usually am, because I'm having to think about this. I want to do it justice. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts, it'll be up there, the link, the video early in the video, to my full thoughts, because just reflecting on it, it's just my words cannot do justice. It is a masterpiece of beauty and awe. And Janny, I tip my hat to you. Please, guys, please, if there's one book you read off this list, this isn't even number 1, but if there's one book you read, if there's one book you try, I want it to be this one. Because the others, they're really, really good. And I also know that, you know, that in sort of my area of the fan community and you guys that watch this, that they're kind of known. And inevitably, you'll probably get to them. But this isn't as known. I really feel sad, because I really think you're missing out. And I want anyone to miss out, and I want to see Janny get the praise and the readership that she deserves. She's worked so hard, kicked her butt off to get this far in a cutthroat industry. So please, guys, if there's any book you read this year, come join the read-alongs. There's one with Blaze from Under the Radar SFF and Angie hosting over on our channel. There's Ships of Merry. I was involved in one about Curse of the Mistwraith. Then you've also got Philip Chase doing a read-along with AP Canavan and Jimmy Nuts and several others. Now is the perfect time to get into this series. Book 11 is just being finalised. I love this one. That's the best thing I can say about it. This one will be in my heart for a long time. Thank you. Thanks for the memories, Janny. With that, we come to an end. Wow, I'm kind of taken aback. I got oddly emotional talking about that, and I don't know why, but it just, Curse of the Mistwraith, just, it hits you, you know? It hits you. So thank you for watching. Next video, I am going to be revealing my number 1 spot. Yes, you heard that right. Number 1 spot, because I've got 2 number 1s. I could not decide. They were both absolutely exquisite and beautiful in their own respective ways, and they both, there's no way I could decide. So we have a joint number 1, and I'll also go through some of my honourable mentions. So please stick around for that video. It should be out about Saturday. I look forward to getting it out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember, like, subscribe. It really helps. I'm nearly at 200 subscribers. Whoop, 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 whoop. So if I can get 200 subscribers in the next 6 months, I'll be very happy. I love to bring more to you guys. Thank you for watching. See you next time on Hobbit Hole Books.